We're live, you know that, right? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Fry's Corner Bar, and welcome back to people that attended last week. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and we certainly did. We had a really nice time, and I think Shannon does a great job on being our Fry's Corner Bar mixologist. Tonight she's going to make two cocktails, the Blackberry Mojito, which is just an awesome cocktail, as well as a Blackberry Bramble. So hopefully you have supplies for at least 2 or 3 of these because they are that good. You're going to enjoy them. You have that first one, you're definitely going to want the second. I got a question earlier today from someone in Chicago wanting to know if they could use bourbon versus rye. And I guess you could for the Blackberry Bramble. I guess you could use bourbon. However, there is a difference between bourbon and rye, so I thought I'd just spend a couple of minutes talking about that. Rye is made from 51% rye and then 49% other ingredients. Bourbon is 51% corn and 49% other grains as well. So you could have your rye at 51% rye, and then it could be, that 49% could be barley, corn, wheat, rice, some other grain, and the same with bourbon. In Canada, there's differences there in terms of those requirements. I'm not going to get into that. There's also some proofing requirements that bourbon and rye have, and again, I'm not going to get into all those technicalities. I think the greatest difference is in the taste profiles. You'll find that bourbon, because it's distilled, or the mash is distilled from corn, is going to be a little bit sweeter. And rye, what you'll find is a little spicier, a little more savory, but it's not spicy like a hot pepper or something of that nature. It's just a distinct difference. So if you sit down and you taste them side by side, you'll definitely be able to pick out the rye over the bourbon. A lot of the classic cocktails that call for sugar or sweeter liqueurs added in would typically use a rye whiskey, only because of the fact that if you would make those with bourbon, it may be a little too sweet. There are exceptions to that. The whiskey sour, for example, the Manhattan, various old fashions also call for bourbon. In terms of old fashions, I like a rye old fashioned, and when I make a rye old fashioned, I typically use a rye whiskey called Angel's Envy. That's one of my favorites. And then there's a rye whiskey called Angel's Envy Finished Rye, which is finished off in port barrels, and that's just a nice sipping rye whiskey. So if you have questions, we really encourage you to post them. We'll try to answer them right away. We encourage you guys to share what we're doing with your friends and family if you find this fun and enjoyable. This is sort of what we're doing through this COVID quarantine, since we're not going out to restaurants and things. We kind of do our own cuisine, we do our own crafty cocktails, and we have a fun time. We just typically do 1 or 2 cocktails on a Friday, and then we might try something on a Saturday. And without any further, got one thing I wanted to mention. Tonight's whiskey that we are using is a rye whiskey, and it is from Colorado, and it's 51% rye, and the remaining 49% is barley. It's called 10th Mountain Rye Whiskey. My niece, who lives in Boulder, said this is a really nice distillery, so we thought we would give it a shot tonight. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our mixologist, Shannon. So thank you. And hope you guys enjoy the show, and sit back, and if you have questions, please send them right in, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank you, everyone, for showing up. It's great to see everyone. Let me just get the notices off so I can make sure I'm showing you everything. So tonight we decided to feature things with Blackberry simple syrup. And it's very easy to make. I made some this week. I posted the recipe. But with all of the beautiful blackberries that are, and even raspberries and all the beautiful berries that are showing up into the markets these days, I thought it'd be great to feature a simple syrup. And I wanted to show the versatility of the simple syrup by making 2 different cocktails, because I know not everyone is a fan of whiskey. So I thought I would make a twist on the regular mojito and use the blackberry simple syrup. So I'm going to start with the mojito, and both recipes, start with a simple syrup as well as a lime or a citrus component. So I'm just going to pull my ingredients here. So we have our rum, we have mint leaves. Now this one calls for 6 mint leaves, so I'm actually just going to put the mint leaves in the shaker, along with 1 ounce of lime juice. So the mojito calls for lime, and the Bramble calls for lemon juice. And then 3/4 ounce of the simple syrup. And then you muddle this together. Now we have a muddler. You can just, anything, fork or anything that you can smash in there. And so you want to give that mint a good muddle. You're really trying to get the mint flavors into the simple syrup. Oh, I forgot to mention, as you notice, I already have my glasses chilling with the ice and the water. This is a coupe, which we're going to serve the Bramble in, so I'm going to move that off to the side. The mojito, tonight I'm going to serve the mojito in a fizz glass. You can also serve it in a double rocks glass. One of the reasons that I like the fizz glass, which I'll explain a little bit when I put the ice in, but we're going to use this fizz glass. So I'm going to get that a little more muddled. And now I'm going to add 3 blackberries into that. I didn't want to muddle the blackberries as much as I muddle the mint. I'm going to give them a muddle, but you don't want to pulverize them in there. So just a couple smashes of that, and then we're going to put 2 ounces of the white rum. And that is it. Now this cocktail takes crushed ice. So I'm going to just put just a touch of crushed ice in, not a lot, because this cocktail is served with ice. So you don't want to over dilute the shaker, because then you'll just end up with a diluted cocktail. So we're just going to give this a few shakes to get all the ingredients incorporated. I'm going to dump the water in this glass. And then you just pour the mix right into your glass. In this cocktail, you don't strain at all. You just pour everything into the glass. And this is why I like using the fizz glass, is because I just top this off with crushed ice. And you don't want to put the ice in or mix the ice in, because when you put the ice on top, and I clearly didn't get enough. Let me just grab some more. Mike's shaking his head for my lack of preparation. So we're going to just top it off with the crushed ice and garnish it with a sprig of mint. And if you choose, you can just float a blackberry on top. And that is the blackberry mojito. The reason I like using the fizz glass is all of this ice that you put in there is going to keep that, keep all of the stuff down at the bottom. So it's much easier to drink because that crushed ice kind of filters it all. And so you get a bigger stack of ice when you use a taller glass versus a wider glass, even though they hold the same amount of liquid. So I'm going to put that off to the side while I make the blackberry Bramble. Let me just rinse out my utensils. For my birthday, I'm going to ask for another set of shakers so I can actually make 2 different cocktails at the same time. So now this cocktail, again, takes the simple syrup. So we're going to put 3/4 ounces of simple syrup. And it is the same syrup to citrus ratio as the mojito, except as I mentioned, the citrus is actually, the citrus is actually less. The citrus is a 1/2 ounce of lemon juice. So this actually has more simple syrup to it than citrus, which typically I like a 50-50 ratio, and I think if any of you guys watched our Facebook post last weekend I experimented with 3 or 4 different variations of this cocktail, and this is actually the one that everybody deemed was the best. So, and this one takes less mint, so I'm just going to put 3 mint leaves in there. We also experimented everywhere from 6 to 3, and we felt the mint, too much mint overpowered it. So again, I'm not going to give that one as much muddle as I did the mojito because I don't want the mint to overpower it. And this one also calls for 2 ounces of the liquor. So this is the rye whiskey Mike mentioned. So we're putting 2 ounces of that in. And we're going to fill the shaker about half full of ice. And then this one we're going to give a pretty good shake because we want to, this is a strained cocktail. It's going to be served just straight up in the coupe glass. So there won't be any ice in the cocktail itself. So we're just going to shake it. And I actually like to, one of the things about shaking is I'm really just stirring it vigorously with the ice. The ice is going round and round. When I open it up, the ice is actually round inside. When you go to these bars and you see all of the little shattered ice shards on top of your martini and stuff, that's really not the best way to shake a cocktail. You don't want to actually have ice particles in it. You just want the water to dilute the cocktail.
And martini should really be stirred, not shaken. James Bond had that wrong.
True, that's true, because a martini, you only shake things with citrus, or if it's what I call a liquor cocktail, they are definitely stirred. So Mike is actually right on that. So now this cocktail is double strained, just like the cocktail last week. So I have a fine strainer, and I have this strainer. So I'm going to double strain into the glass. And it's a nice, beautiful color. And I'm going to garnish this. I already prepared this with blackberry, lemon, and mint. And one of my other pet peeves about garnish is I always like garnish just served on the side. It shouldn't be immersed in the liquid because that displaces some of the fluid, and you're not getting a full pour if there's 3 or 4 olives stacked up in that glass. So come get your cocktail, baby. Okay, blackberry mojito and a blackberry bramble.
Cheers.
Cheers. Love you.
Cheers, everybody.
So we hope that you guys show up again next week. We tend to experiment on Friday nights as to what cocktail we're gonna make, and so this week, last week, Lori Walsh recommended that we make a mojito, so I thought that was a great idea. So if you have a cocktail idea or want us to feature some cocktail or even a liqueur that you like or a liquor that you like, and you want to try something different, just let us know and we will see what we can come up with. So again, thank you for showing up tonight.
Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.